Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Hummel Insurance Group for sponsoring today's show. Hummel Insurance Group now owns and operates 7 different offices located throughout the tri-state area. For over 50 years now, the Hummel Insurance Group has been assisting customers with insurance needs and questions. For all your insurance needs, contact Hummel Insurance Group at 812-537-1785. Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. This is Merle Hutchinson being joined by my sweet wife, Linda. Hey, Linda, how are you doing today?
I'm good, but I'm a little stuffed.
You looking Turkish? Did you eat a little bit too much stuffing?
A little.
We got to laugh about our son.
What? About a stuffing comment?
You laid out bread. You laid out bread just to dry for the stuffing.
Right.
And he walks by and he grabs a little piece of the bread. It's got nothing on it, it's just bread. And he puts it in his mouth. He goes, "Oh my gosh, that is so good."
No, he said, "Good stuffing, Mom." And I'm like, "It's dried bread."
Yeah, it's bread.
It's going to be stuffing, but
it was out on the deck for a while, drying out in the air.
Nothing like dry, crusty bread to, tantalize a child. He's a teenage boy.
Yeah. And it's all in the mind, right? It's all in the mind. Like,
That's
wow, this is the best bread ever.
Yeah, but after like the third dinner of turkey and dressing, you're like, oh, I cannot. The stuffing is stuffing me. So that's actually so funny because our topic is stuff today.
Stuff.
The season of
we
stuff.
are now officially in the season of stuff.
Yeah.
We take the ing off. It's no longer stuffing, it's stuff.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Speaking of stuff.
Oh, it's your turn this week to fire the question.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. So,
fire away.
So how about Christmas for your family? Did your family make a big deal out of like Christmas presents? Like, was it all about how much is under the tree? I didn't mean to give you a trick question.
That was a tough one. I would say yes and no. I'd say yes and no. So definitely when I was a kid, so we had 5 of us, mom and dad, that's 7. And so even if you just, whatever, you got 3 or 4 gifts apiece, you put all that together and now you've got, over 20 plus presents around. That can kind of look like quite a bit, right? So I remember I was one of those kids who would not sleep. And would get up early.
We have one of those in our house.
Yes, I would get up early and I would walk down the stairs and I'd poke my head around the corner, and we had a living room there that we kept the tree and the presents in, and I would just look at the number of presents, and I'd be like, ain't going back to sleep here. I'm done. And but then the rule was you couldn't open any gifts until everybody got up. Do you know how long that is? I mean, you get up at 1:00 in the morning. That's a long, long morning to sit there and stare at presents.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, but then when I got older, it completely changed. My dad's company was kind of borderline bankruptcy. Money was really, really tight through all my teenage years. It just really didn't look that way. Like, I'm not trying to sound pathetic, but it was like a couple of those Christmases, it was, you got 2 pair of jeans. And that's what you got. And, but we were at an age there where my mom felt worse about that and my dad felt worse about that than us kids, because we knew the struggles that our family was going through to just keep the business going. And so, it really did flip the whole idea of what was going on with the gift things.
Right.
Yeah.
And you knew what was going on as far as struggles with your family.
Yeah, no,
right?
we were all part of that business. And so we knew how much money we didn't have. And when I was a little kid, we were blessed to have quite a bit of money. And so, I just was totally indulged in the presents as a little kid. But I'm actually very glad that I went through the harder time, because if you thought your parents were just holding back and they just didn't want to buy you something, then it would have been harder. But to see what they were going through, it shined a completely different light on what the the gift situation was.
Well,
how about you guys?
You bring up a point, though, and we're going to talk about this. Just because they can doesn't mean they should.
That's right.
So we're going to be talking about that today. But as far as my family goes,
you were a spoiled brat. I just know it.
Well, my grandma Sylvia, she was a gift giver.
Yeah.
And her love language was gifts.
Yeah.
And so it didn't matter if it was chapstick or if it was a shirt from...
Did you say chopsticks? Or
no, chapstick.
Oh,
she
chapstick.
loved to go to Walgreens. I don't know why Walgreens, but she would buy
and
loads
why
and loads.
Like,
I don't know. I don't know.
Even when I came into the family, I'd get a stick of chapstick. I don't ever use chapstick.
No, it wasn't like she would just rep. That was like in your stocking.
Oh, yeah. No, that was
fruit.
one of 50 items
Yeah.
in your
Pez
stocking.
candy. We were always about the big Pez things. But that was like in your stocking. That was like a little bonus gift. But then she believed in just wrapping present after present. And then when I got old enough where I was helping to wrap, oh my gosh, that was like a big production because she gave presents to like the grandchildren of her neighbors. Like it was all about presents. And so that's exactly how my parents thought. I think they just felt like they couldn't let grandma show them up. So it was stacks of presents, which I'm embarrassed to say that. Mm-hmm.
So as you talked about that, like it does lead us into our topic. And I think there are some crazy things that have happened to Christmas. We're actually recording this on the heels of Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving is one of the few holidays that's not been totally adulterated and messed up by the secular world. It's like, no, we're going to pretty much chill out with family, and we're going to give thanks, and we're going to have a good meal, and we're just going to hang out.
Yeah,
and it's still pretty pure, whereas Easter and Christmas have just gotten really cluttered by the world.
Yeah. Although I will tell you that, for a lot of years now, they've tried to push Christmas into Thanksgiving by being open on Thanksgiving and making it all about shopping and getting ahead instead of Black Friday, just all kinds of crazy stuff. And I see a little pushback this year about, no, we're going to close on Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. I think it's because of the work shortage.
Right.
But thankfully, we're starting to take that holiday back as, no, this is about staying home, being with family, and celebrating what we're thankful for.
Yeah. And make no mistake about it. Like, I get the commercialization of it. I mean, there are businesses and people trying to make a living in life. And so I do get that. Everybody wants to make a better living. But there are certain things that, we could probably stand to put some boundaries on, right?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
All right, so we're going to get into like the stuff, like how much stuff is too much stuff. How do we deal with stuff? How do we deal with the whole gift thing? We're going to get into that. So this is really going to be directed towards all of us, but a lot towards our parents, because you are now creating a mindset in the next generation of how they look at gifts and what gifts are about. So let's thank some sponsors first.
Yeah, we want to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Hummel Insurance Group for coming alongside Rock Solid Radio, Rock Solid Families, and just supporting what we do. And so we're so thankful for them. And we hope that you will go and let them know that you appreciate that as well.
All right, a couple of announcements coming up. So as we've said, Lynn and I have been working on a new program. Wouldn't it be cool if you could stay in your house and be with your spouse and do some good marriage work, something that was affordable and something that would really make the two of you go through a solid coaching sort of regimen to just get things back in line, maybe pull things in line that have never been pulled into line. And so Lynn and I are creating a program to do that, and we hope to be releasing that in the first part of 2022. So we're working hard at that, and it's going to be thorough. It's going to have lots of different phases that you go through, and videos and text. But mostly, our deal here is to not just throw a lot of stuff. Our deal is to make it practical.
Well, and it's going to have some tools and some action items and stuff, and so we're really excited about that. As we close 2021, it's getting colder. I love this. It's kind of sexy, but it
She's talking about my beard if you happen to be
I'm sorry.
listening rather than...
Yeah. I mean, it's actually kind of the look right now today.
Well, I want to be part of that look.
You want to be part of the look. So, but sometimes there's some winter weight that you put on that maybe, you're ready to get off. I'm not saying that
That's why she was referring to the size of my cheeks as she was rubbing my beard.
No, but I'm just saying, come and join us in fitness in our office. We still do that 6 days a week. So
absolutely. Come join us for that. Also, we've got a really cool cool thing coming up. We're partnering with Urban Crest Church over in Lebanon, Ohio, and on February 12th, we're going to run a really cool parenting program, Families Rock, and that is going to be covering some major topics in the parenting realm. Everything from discipline and electronics and faith. All of these topics we're going to be boiling into one day, and it's going to be like a 9 to 4. There'll be a registration in the early morning, like at around 8 o'clock. We'll get you more details of that, but just if you're thinking that that's something that you and your spouse would be interested in doing, just kind of pencil that in right now, and we'll give you more ink to put on a little bit later when we give you all the details.
There's going to be childcare included and lunch included, so it's an all-day thing, but I think it really is going to be those hands-on practical tools for you as a parent of any age, and so we hope that you'll join us on February 12th. So let's get going on stuff.
Let's get going. So the first thing I want to put out there, I want to put a disclaimer. I do not want this show to come across as we are anti-presents. We are, our kids would not let us air this show if that were the case. No, but the idea that, we're going to be kind of just grunged about the whole idea and like, oh, we're not, those presents, that's too materialistic. No, that's not at all what we want to be about. We want to really talk about the gifts, and the gifts are great, right? But I think sometimes, and I will speak for myself, I don't understand gifts sometimes, and I'll explain that as we get in. And sometimes because I don't understand them, I teach that to our kids that I don't understand what a gift actually is. So make no mistake about it. We are not saying for Christmas this year, just sit around the tree with the children and grab their hands and say, "Oh, Christmas tree." I already sang once on one show, and I got nixed on that, so I won't try to sing "Oh, Christmas Tree" for you.
Oh yes, you got a lot of interesting kickback on that. If you missed last week's show, you really got to go back and check out his Mac Davis song. Oh Lord,
it's hard to be humble.
So Okay. But I think then, hun, we also need to put a disclaimer on it, is that this is not talking about one day out of the year.
Right.
This is talking about a mindset. This is talking about what we do 365 days of the year or 364 other days of the year, where we really teach our children and really emphasize in our family what gifts are all about, what is important, and prioritize the right things. So we're really kind of talking about shifting a mindset here. Instead of the season of stuff that we start. I have a friend, a high school friend, and Lisa, I'm just going to shout out to you, that starting in June, on June 25th, is it June or July? I forget, what's 6 months into it. July, I guess?
Yeah.
She starts 6 months, 5 months. I mean, she starts the countdown.
That's sick.
She has her tree up all year round.
That is sick.
So Lisa, this show is for you. It's not the season of stuff.
Can she get treated for that?
I think she likes her condition, but she celebrates that. But it's not all about presents for her. It's a season of giving and love and family and all that stuff. So but it's a little much for me. I don't think I could start in the summer.
Right. We also want to put out a little statement about what we talk about today always then needs to be presented to your kids at an appropriate developmental level and age appropriateness, because how I might approach this with a teenager might look very different versus a 5-year-old. Okay. I mean, they're just not, they're going to catch things and understand things at different levels. So trying to get all deep into the theology of gifts with a 5-year-old, we have to be appropriate so that our kids start to really see what we're doing. And then year after year, we can go just a slightly different, deeper level.
But it does start young.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, and we're telling you, if you are a family of young children, this starts now. Because if you have teenagers and they're sitting around and they're complaining and whining about what you're not giving them and how much money you spent on them or didn't spend on them, then you got to look back and say, okay, I created this monster. Like, I'm the one that set the precedent and the expectation of how we're going to do presents. And that's not just Christmas. We're talking about birthdays, all of those things. What is it that you do?
Yeah. So, hon, let's just start, because I know this sounds elementary, but let's start actually with the idea of what a gift is. Okay. So this is just per the
Google it?
Yeah, I Googled it and I went to the Oxford Dictionary, and it states very simply, it's a thing given willingly to someone without payment. In other words, it is something you give or never receive with nothing given in return. Okay. So the whole idea of deserve it, you deserve it, or they deserve it, is not what this is about. Okay. And so that whole idea that it's a one-sided thing in terms of it doesn't have to go both ways. All right. And that's where we get confused, but then that's also where we confuse our kids as they get older.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a confession to make.
Yeah.
So last week's show was all about humility. And it was about serving others. And then we also kind of put that disclaimer in. It's about receiving and being willing to receive and, humble ourselves to be receiving and serving and giving. And so right after that show, we were blessed with friends who took us out to dinner and took us to a comedy show. And it was all on them. And we only picked them up. We picked them up and drove and parked. But, it was such a blessing. And the instinct in me was to buy them dinner. And they insisted. And you were like, honey, receive that. And I was like, oh, gosh, it's hard for me. It's hard for me to receive gifts. And so it's something that is not expected in return.
And it is for me as well, because and I think it speaks back. Okay, I'm not going to go crazy deep in theology here, but it speaks back to how we have assumed a doing and payment sort of mentality, a works mentality. Yeah. If you do something for me, then I have to do something for you. And that even runs very true with Christmas presents. Like you find out if somebody gives you a Christmas card or somebody gives you a Christmas gift, you go, oh, I didn't get them something. I'm going to have to go get them something. Yeah. And it's just that whole idea that we've accepted that as the norm. And that in itself tells me I don't quite understand the gift thing. I take it as a payment thing. Yeah. And so it is a practice. When somebody offers to buy you lunch, when somebody offers to give you a gift, you don't have to correct them. You don't have to try to take it. You don't have to try to put their credit card back in their wallet. You say, wow, thanks. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. So you're speaking to me. I'm sorry. So for all those
both
people
of
out
us
there,
actually on that one. But if you want to start buying us gifts,
No, I can't tell you how many arguments and wrestling matches I've had with people.
I will say, I've told you before, like, hon, like, just no, like,
so hard.
We do. We have to sit back because we also, it'd be one thing if you never helped another person out, but we also, not to pat ourselves on the back, but we see people that we want to be generous to or gift things to, and we would be offended if we gave them a gift and they turned right around and had to like drop us back money or buy us something.
That's true. And this gift goes to what Jesus has done for us. If we can't accept his free gift, it was given to us freely. We didn't earn it. We haven't deserved it. We can't work our way to heaven, but that gift of salvation, that gift of freedom that he gives us, that peace, that is a free gift. And so it has something to do with our understanding of our faith and understanding that gift that Jesus gives us. Because if we can't receive it from people, can we receive it from Jesus Christ?
Yeah.
Just wondering.
I don't know why certain things come in patterns or in waves, but it seems like a lot of my reading here lately is all about salvation and that it is a gift and the works mentality. And like we do works because we are saved. We don't do works because we want to be saved and that whole thing. And I'm happy to reading that as we're coming into this season. And Ephesians 2:8 says, for by grace you have been saved through faith and that not of yourselves. It is a gift of God.
You didn't do anything to deserve it.
Yeah. And that's like, okay, I need to wrap my head around that. But see, like that is the seed that I want to start teaching our kids. Right? Yeah. Like, okay, so what does that really mean? And we can be bad about that as parents sometimes, because sometimes I say, what at least the message comes off to my kids is, well, when you behave, you'll get this. And again, that's kind of that whole paying our kids so that they'll behave well. And I'm not saying there's not ever a time for that. There are times where we do give rewards and stuff like that. But there are sometimes you just give your kids a gift. Yeah. Why? Because. Yeah. Just because.
Yeah. So what are you doing the other 364 days of the year for your kids and gifts, teaching your kids that things do cost and that there's a need to have a method of payment for the things that you want in life? like we said before, hon, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because you have the money doesn't mean you should lavish them with cars and TVs and, phones and all those things. And so that's a really hard thing sometimes to have restraint, especially when you see what other kids are getting, and that makes it really hard because it's like, okay, so-and-so did get this or that, and that doesn't mean you should do that too.
Yeah, so we talk about, so what should we do? All right, so first off, I think it is important, like wrapping your head around the idea of gift and then starting to teach your kids about the idea of gift. And Hun, you mentioned this just a second ago, like the idea that in general, I think it's important for our kids to know what things cost, like the value of things, okay? If I think about what Christ gave to us, because I understand the value of life, I understand the value of what he did for us, what he gave, okay? So teaching your kids when something is expensive, when something is special, when something's different, like that's a good thing because your kids then start to see what the sacrifice might mean to get something like that.
Yeah, and so I need to be reminded of that because as our kids get older, things cost more. And so, whether it be...
Well, I remind you of that when you go shopping. I go, cost a lot.
So if I'm buying, a $10 pair of jeans from Kohl's is one thing, but if I'm buying a $70 pair of jeans...
You found a $10 pair of jeans?
I'm just saying, when their kids are little, you can buy them at Kmart. Well, Kmart doesn't exist anymore, but, you can buy them pretty cheap. But when the child wants something, even if it's like a phone or... a TV or whatever, those things, it's not like you're going to have a stack of presents and it's not all about the number and it's not all about the price tag. And sometimes it's about the thought behind it or the meaning behind it that is really more important that I need to be reminded of.
Right. So it gets into an inflation concept. The idea that if I just start giving my kids bunches and bunches and bunches of gifts, it dilutes the purpose of the value of them understanding the value. Yeah. And so, when we think about it, like, I know this just is going to sound like, he's trying to be gooder than he should be. Gooder. Trying to be better than he should be. But the idea that I knew that the 2 pair of jeans that my parents got me for Christmas when I was a teenager were more valuable than the whatever number of gifts that I got as a kid because I knew the sacrifice. Like I was aware of the sacrifice then.
Yeah.
There was a whole different understanding. And I mean, I remember even feeling like you don't have to get 2 pairs. Like, you don't have to get anything really. Yeah. So the sacrifice was not diluted. And I think sometimes, rather than getting our kids 15, 20 small little goofy things that don't carry value, maybe we get 1 or 2 things that carry a greater value in the kids' eyes and our eyes.
Yeah, for sure. And so, you can tell when you've indulged. One, by the way, you always buy within your means, okay? And we didn't always do this. I would go and credit card things when I didn't have the money, and that was wrong. That was a wrong approach just because I wanted the stack, right? Now, there's the thing called the Dollar Tree now. You can go and buy 5 different things that cost $1 a piece. But still, why are we just buying a bunch of junk that 2 weeks later are going to be in the garbage can? So
I think that's how we also measure it, right? Like, did I ever indulge my kids? Okay, do the 2-week test. And the 2-week test is go look at all the toys and the things that you bought them and see what condition or place those are in 2 weeks after. And 2 weeks after, it's broken. And we've had that, right? And that has upset me a few times.
I can't tell you how many times we've bought remote control cars or those little drone things, different cheap value.
They didn't make it through Christmas Day.
They crashed and burned and they were done.
Yeah.
So let's be really practical, hon, as we wrap up. Let's talk about some really specific things that we can do with our kids that if we feel like they already have too much stuff, and this is really any time of the year. This isn't just in Christmas time, but specifically before Christmas, you can do some things here that really will help your kids prioritize and really put a different perspective on gifts and stuff.
Yeah. Well, one of the first things I think we can do is flip the role and put them into the giving phase and not just giving from you. Like, in other words, you give them $5 and then they go buy something and they go give it. No, that they actually learn a level of sacrifice out of them. They go to their piggy bank. They go to their savings account. And you say, hey, let's pull out X number of dollars. Oh, but Dad, no, because then I won't be able to. Let's pull out X dollars.
Yeah.
And let's talk about who we might want to bless.
Yeah.
Okay. And that could be, that would probably be easier for a 5 to 8 year old.
Oh, yeah.
But all of a sudden you get into that 10, 11, 12, 13, and those kids are starting I want.
Understand the value of money too.
So a great first practice is start getting them to learn the gifting side.
Yeah, I know that locally there's a lot of giving trees around. I have a friend that did trees for the Dragonfly Foundation, and she has gifts, tree tags all over the tri-state area where people can take a gift tag off and give back to kids with cancer, families with cancer. And so that's one way. We have a tree in our church that they had, the angel tree. So involve your children in that so that they see that. Also, sometimes it's about going through their toys, not picking out what's just broken, but picking out things that they maybe grown out of or they used to use and, that were some of their favorites, and then giving them away, whether that be to a little younger neighbor down the street or a little cousin, something that shows them, okay, we're going to prioritize here. We have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So involving them in that.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea just to help do that. I do know, I ran the toy drive for years at Bright Elementary, and it got kind of tricky because we were no longer able to give used toys because of just the clutter that would happen with that, whether toys were broken or whatever. So you find the appropriate means to do that, whether you can give away a used toy that's in great shape or whether you have to buy something. But it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you're teaching the gifting side of this whole thing. So
speaking of toys, let's really talk about the prioritizing of non-electronic toys. Because honestly, our electronic toys are turning into pacifiers. It is what we are putting our child in front of, whether it be in the car, whether it be in a grocery cart, whether it be in a couch, whether it be in bed. And we are allowing our child to be pacified by these electronics, whether they be tablets, phones, computers, whatever. And so we're just asking you to really focus on the non-electronic toys and to really minimize the electronics, whether that's the things they have or whether the things that you buy. And the younger, the more important this is, because you wonder why your child's throwing a temper tantrum in the grocery. It's because you forgot the tablet. I just saw a child the other day. They were going to Staples, which it takes you about 5 minutes, and that child was in the cart with a tablet. I thought, you can't go 5 minutes in a office supply store without a tablet for a child. And so the older they are, obviously, the more they want electronics. But really, I love the idea, Hun, for the older kids to kind of focus on maybe experiences. Think about some of the experiences that we have done with our kiddos that maybe sometimes mean more than an electronic.
Yeah, they may even cost more, but the idea of it's an experience, whether you take a family vacation to the ski slopes or whether you, our kids love doing the trampoline parks and stuff like that. So it's just, I like the idea, Hun, too, because we're starting to see, as you talk about the electronics, we're starting to see all kinds of evidence and proof of what it's actually doing to our kids' minds. So it's kind of, you could now liken it to the idea of you bought your kid just a 5-pound bag of sugar, right? That's what it would be like. I mean, we know that. So, what'd you get for Christmas? Oh, I got a 5-pound bag of sugar. Oh, what'd you do? I just put my face in it all day. And that's pretty much what you're seeing with the electronics. And it is electronics are now sugar for the brain. And if we don't understand that, we're going to be more and more sorry. We are already sorry in what we're seeing as parents in that realm. But that's not me being preachy. Those are facts. We're seeing it bear out like crazy. And we're even seeing it with us adults. You and I have talked about that, how we can fall guilty. So that bag of sugar called electronics is something that we're going to have to be better with. And why not help our kids start to see that this one's not working well? Yeah. Let's give them some experiences.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough in the winter. We're not going to lie. We live in the Midwest, and so it gets cold. It gets yucky.
Yes, we do.
So you have to get more creative, but, whether it be spike ball, whether it be skis or sleds for the outside in the snow, I mean, just get creative and help your kids to get active. Hun, for our little ones, this is something we've been talking about in our mom's group lately, is when your kids pull everything out of the closet or on the shelves, and then they're like overwhelmed by the stuff, and then they come to you and they're kind of upset, they're frantic, they're frustrated, they're angry. And it's because they're overwhelmed. And so I really encourage you, if you are a young mom, to pack away the things and prioritize them. For instance, put all of your Legos in one container and all of your Matchbox cars in another and all of your doll baby stuff and all of your kitchen stuff, and then pack it away where it's out of reach, and then prioritize the day into what time it is. For instance, it's Play-Doh time at the table. Okay, put the Play-Doh away, and then you can get the puzzles out, and then it's puzzle time, and then put the puzzles away, and then you can have Lego time or book time. You prioritize the day, and it really makes the day go better, I think, because it's not just like an overwhelming amount of stuff that they don't even know where to begin because sometimes it's so much.
And I will just say on that, then teaching your kids, because you have sort of separated, you've taken care of it, then teaching them, taking care of that. You're done with the Play-Doh. You're done with the cars. You're done with whatever. Okay, let's put it all back. The idea then that they are recognizing the value. This all comes down to how valuable is this?
And again, if you notice, your kids are having ADD when it comes to playing because they can't even sit and watch a show anymore without having to play through the commercials. Commercials to them take too long. And so you're seeing that now in the kids playing. It's like they can't sit and play with one thing more than a couple minutes because they lose attention. And so we have to help kids to refocus and prioritize their time because we are desensitizing them on a screen so much.
And it comes into my mind when you say that, the idea of, well, it's not going away. It's not coming, you better get with the times here. Some things never go out of fashion or style, okay? Some things always have value. We could say that same thing with Christ. There's plenty of ways that I can feel good or take care of myself or feel happy without Christ, okay? I could go buy a new car. No, never mind. There's things I could do that seem like they could create pleasure in me. But the whole idea that of the level of the gift that Christ is to us is something that nothing can match, and that will never change, all right? And so that's the same thing when we're talking about gifts to our kids. We want them to have things that are valuable for a long time, not just for the moment.
Yeah, and that reminds me that when we do our work at Rock Solid Families, we work with so many people who walk in our door and they're broken. They're overwhelmed, they're stressed out, they feel hopeless. And a lot of it is because they have tried to fill that God-shaped hole in their heart with stuff, whether it be the car, whether it be the job, whether it be the addiction, whatever it is, people, the spouse. And it will not satisfy.
Right.
It will not satisfy. God is the only one that can fill that void. And so let's help our kids to understand that at a very early age. Help us as parents and adults and a couple to understand that at a very early age, that we cannot feel satisfied and content with stuff. It will never, ever satisfy.
All right. So good stuff. Our challenge, this is good stuff in the stuff show. All right. So, this year for Christmas, take the time to actually start talking to your kids about the difference between a gift and a payment. All right. The things that are under the tree are not payments that your kids now have to find a way to make them back up. Okay. These are gifts, but make those gifts valuable, and not valuable necessarily in money, but valuable in what they add to the quality of the kid's life. So start to teach them that. And also, we have to truly understand, and this is just not being churchy or cliche, the awareness of really what the gift of Christ is. If you yourself are a little unfamiliar or sketchy on that, this is something to dig into. This does take, because, Hun, you said it before, I will constantly seek to find things that drive me to pleasure, right? We talk about that all the time, the pain and pleasure motives that we have. And so I constantly try to find something to bring me pleasure. And that could be all those things you talked about, the cars, the sex, the drugs, the money, the power, all of those things. And when I get this, I'll be happy. And that whole idea of understanding that Christ is what quenches. But you have to dig in and understand how your flesh is operating and controlling how your mind works. And that's a dog chasing his tail. That one never ends until you interrupt that cycle with Christ.
Yeah. So as we close, we just want to thank again our sponsors, Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Hummel Insurance Group, for coming alongside us and really helping to invest in things that are bigger than just stuff. And so we thank them for their sponsorship.
Go out there as we start this season. Go out and thank you for building a stronger community, one family at a time. Go out and make it a great day. I'm just really hoping I don't get the same lump of coal I got last year. If I can do
It's
a
all
season,
about honey. It's about the meaning behind it.
Yeah, but that one hurts. that lump of coal just hurts, hon. So yeah, love ya. Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. They offer a wide selection of high-quality plants, landscaping materials, and home decor. They do amazing high-quality work and can help you transform your indoor and outdoor living spaces into something beautiful. So stop by Casey's Outdoor Solutions today and let them know you appreciate their support for Rock Solid Radio. Visit Casey's today at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana.